Pisces, Sun, Moon, Rising. Welcome to my channel. It is such a blessing to be here with you, so thank you for being here with me for your January 2024 Tarotscope. I am so very grateful for the opportunity to connect with you today. In the description box below, you will find links to information on personal readings, the Soul Good membership channel on Telegram, and ways to support the work I do here if you would like to explore any of those options. You will also find a timestamp if you would like to jump to the start of your reading. Please do keep in mind this is a collective reading, not a personal reading, so use your discernment and take only what resonates with you. If you find that something shared does resonate, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment below, and or share this content, as it tells YouTube that there may be something valuable here for someone else, which is a gift to both this channel and to others as well, and I greatly, greatly appreciate that support. January kicks off 2024, a number 8 year, encouraging us to step into our personal power, to have faith in our own abilities, and use them to their highest potential. These are some of the themes that we're going to be exploring for this month's Tarotscope, looking at your overall energy, what new level of power and inner strength is being ignited from within you, what's gaining momentum for you this month, and getting some advice or messages to best support and serve you and your journey moving forward. If you have been on my channel before, this month may look a little bit different. I'm using only oracle cards for this Tarotscope. I do have tarot on standby if I need some help with some clarity, but I love using oracle cards. It's something I do in my membership often, and I really, really enjoy how the messages come through. So let's look into January for you and see what's coming up. Please, Father, Mother, Life, Christ, Universe, Spirits, Guides, Angels, our cosmic team, our ancestors, our higher selves, tell us please about January 2024 for Pisces, overall energy for January 2024. Ooh, all right. There it is. I felt like there was another one. Let me grab that. Okay. All right. Tell us, please, what new... Good God. Yep. Okay. Good Lord. Thank you. Tell us... Okay. Is that it? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting. I was not expecting that. Okay, tell us, please. Y'all are a chatty bunch. Chatty bunch, Pisces. Okay. So let me just organize a little bit. All right, the overall energy for you for January, Pisces. We do have here peace. Beautiful. The number 23. So the number 23 reduces to 5, which is a number of adversity. It can be a number of conflict and instability, but it can also be a number of change and momentum. So I'm getting a couple of things here. I feel like Pisces, for you in your more recent past, and by recent I mean probably the last 2 or 3 years, sometime there, though this could be further out as well. It's just a number that's coming through right off the cuff. But I feel like, oh, and I'm just realizing that it's 23, so that's pretty interesting. But I feel like the past 2 to 3 years for you, Pisces, has been very challenging. I feel like there's been a lot of conflict, and I don't necessarily mean this on an external level. I feel like within you, there could have been a lot of instability, a lot of conflict. And I feel like this could be coming from, for some of you, this uncovering of yourself, this really delving deep into yourself, or having a lot of things that have been buried deep within you coming to the surface and having to face those, having to address them. right? Really learning how to navigate those. So I do feel like there's been a lot of this feeling of conflict or instability, a lot of changes that have come through probably for you on an internal level. And I feel that January is trying to move you more into a peaceful place. Certainly within. Okay, again, I don't necessarily feel like this is an outward experience as far as like the conflict is concerned. That could very well be true. I mean, this is a collective reading after all, and anything is possible. But I feel that more specifically, there's this, how do I say? It feels like there's this wanting to move more towards peace, more towards a more balanced state, which again is why I feel like these things have been coming up, right? I feel like the whole point has to bring you, or rather, let me rephrase. I feel like the whole point of all of this conflict and adversity and instability that you may have been experiencing within has been to bring forth change in order to bring you to a place where you feel more at peace within yourself. I feel like a lot of this has been learning how to love yourself as well. Maybe that's for someone specific, but it feels like some of the imbalance I feel that's been created or that you were experiencing or are experiencing has come from this imbalance, from this inability to love self or the struggle to love yourself and to accept that, like to really accept it. So again, I do feel like the overall energy has been and is to bring you to this place where you feel more at peace within yourself, where you feel more balanced within yourself. And a big part of, why this is coming through this way, or rather confirmation for me, is that there's that oracle there in the egg, if you can see it, which is really telling me, essentially that this has been an internal job, right? This has been an internal thing. That finding peace has not been something that you could find externally. It's had to be cultivated from within you. And I do feel like over time, that will be reflected in your physical reality, but it's had to come from within. It's had to start there. Okay. We have also here the number 6, not for you. Oy. Okay. Yeah. So I feel like some of you may play chess. If you play chess, there's something here for you. I don't know where or what, but there's something here for you. And I feel like you will probably really understand what I'm about to say. So this overall energy of, conflict and instability and adversity and change, right? I feel like this has really been coming from, again, there's been an imbalance, and there has been this energy of essentially being either struggling or being unable to love self. Like really, 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 really love yourself. Okay? And I feel like what God has been doing is kind of like playing chess. God has been very strategic about things that have unfolded in your life to try to get you to a place where you really see yourself very clearly, and start to understand perhaps why you have moved in the ways that you have, why you have experienced the things that you have, and to really show you what is not for you on a very deep level. For some of you, this does have something to do with your external experiences. Certain groups, certain activities, certain situations, certain environments that really are not for you. But I also feel that this is definitely things to do from within you, because I feel as though there have been events and situations that have been orchestrated in order to really show you where you have not loved yourself. And unfortunately, I feel like some of these things have come through in a very kind of self-sabotaging way. Right? I feel like you may have started to see where, oh, like I've actually created my own disharmony. I've actually created, these situations that have been very uncomfortable or very unfavorable or very difficult for me. It's quite challenging. But again, it feels like God has been very strategic about this, because I feel like it's had to unfold for you in a very particular way in order for you to this is what's really interesting. In order for you to not write it off as something like fantastical. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like it's had to unfold in a certain way so that you're not just like, oh, I just made that up. Like, I hope that makes sense. And like, yeah, I just feel like there's been some things that have unfolded so in order for you to really ground into them. Because I feel like otherwise, and this is not coming from a critical, judgmental place, Pisces, I feel like otherwise you would have deemed certain things like unrealistic. You would have deemed certain things, you would have tried to like escape from them or brush them off, as I was saying. So I feel like these things have had to unfold in a very, very particular way so that you could see them for what they really are and not just jump to a conclusion where you're writing it off. Like if you see here, you can see the oracle here kind of overseeing all of these things and really bringing to your attention what is not for you and where you've experienced some, even maybe you would call them unlucky, maybe you would call them, I don't even know how to put it, like, yeah, I feel like unlucky is probably the best way to put it, where you may have experienced these kind of situations. And again, like, I feel like there's been this cultivating of these things in their unfolding, or this orchestration rather, of how these things have unfolded to just show you where you have created these experiences. I know that's probably a really hard pill to swallow, and I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. But the number 6 here really is this number, or can be this number, of healing and growth. It can be, right, getting yourself into alignment. And I feel like this has been the purpose, right? It's been for you to heal, for you to really grow, and to really come into alignment with who you truly are at a very deep level, and to kind of peel back the layers of trauma and wounding and pain and programming, or the lower egoic drives, to see where you've been operating from those places and creating this disharmony, this imbalance, where you've essentially been putting yourself in situations that are actually rather unfavorable for your truth. I hope this makes sense. We have here for you as well the number 15, message in a bottle. I think it's really fascinating that 1 in 5, brings us back to that 6 energy. In addition to that, as soon as I saw the number 15, I was really drawn to that devil energy in the tarot, which is also the number 15. So this is where things like those lower egoic drives would really have a lot of power, right? This is where there's a lot of those feelings of like hopelessness or powerlessness or restriction. Where those lower egoic drives really are playing the puppet master, calling the shots from behind the scenes. This is where we can fall into things like materialism, addiction, hedonism, right? Really kind of giving into our lower drives, right? Really, a lot of times when we get caught up in this, we really, what is the word I'm looking for? We really kind of give ourselves over to our how do I say this? Like, what is going to bring us pleasure? Like immediate gratification, immediate satisfaction, right? These sorts of things. That's how this is coming through. So I do feel that, you guys, I'm only chuckling because it's often, from where I'm at in my own journey, I often find it kind of comical, the way God works. Okay, so I'm not chuckling because I'm, not taking what you've experienced seriously. Like I'm very compassionate toward everyone's experiences. It's just because of my own experience and where I'm at currently in my own healing journey. I find a lot of what God does to be comical. But there's almost this like, okay, so the things that you've experienced, as uncomfortable and challenging as they may have been, it has been this kind of like this message in a bottle, like, hey, I've really been trying to show you these things, and it's taken a really long time for you to like open that bottle up, like for that, or rather it's taken a long time for that bottle to get to you, to like relay the message, to like get it across, if that makes sense. And again, these things are to really implement or to encourage healing within you, to bring forth more harmony so you can see where things have not been working out. But I feel like it's taken a long time. I feel like you're kind of stubborn, really, if I'm being honest. Because I feel like there's been a part of you, Pisces, that has not wanted to see certain things, that has not wanted to look at certain things, that would rather just kind of tuck it away in a corner and, believe that it doesn't impact you. But it does. It really, really does. A lot. So, I feel like the overall energy has, where we're at here, I feel like this has been unfolding for you for quite some time. Like I said, it feels like 2 to 3 years, maybe more than that. But I feel like the past 2 to 3 years, like God has really been bringing it on. Like really, really like, hey, you got to see this. You got to see this. You got to deal with this. You got to address this. You've got to heal this, type of thing. And I feel like now here in January, I feel like for some of you, if you're willing, of course, maybe now finally getting these messages coming through very strongly where it's very obvious to you. Okay? Please, please, please only take what resonates for you. And you probably can't see it, or maybe you can, but the oracle's face is in that bottle, right? Because it's like God's like, I've been trying to reach you. I've been trying to reach you, and you've been running from it. Like, so it's a good place to be in. It's a good place to be in. I'm sorry for any of the challenges and struggles that you've been experiencing. I'm sure it has been incredibly, incredibly overwhelming, just based on what I'm feeling within my own body as I bring your energy forward. But again, this is a good place to be in, because I feel like you now are potentially, again, if this resonates for you and if you allow, are on this path of healing, are on this path of bringing more harmony into your experience, where you could really be in alignment with what is true for you, what is best for you, what feels like it is for you. Yeah? So, what new level of power and inner strength is being ignited from within you? We do have the victim here in the upright or light attribute position. Prevents you from letting yourself be victimized or victimizing others. Yeah, there is this energy here, Pisces. On your more shadowy side, okay, there can be this tendency to be kind of self-pitying. And I feel like you're moving out of that, if that is true for you. Right? Like, I feel like for some of you, you have essentially been telling yourself the same story over and over and over again. Maybe it's I'm not good enough. Maybe it's this is just how I am. Maybe it's I'll never change. Maybe it's whatever the story is that somebody told you, or you have, for some reason or another, taken on as your identity, that is really not has not been serving you, because it's been keeping you kind of stagnant or trapped or imprisoned. I feel like you're moving out of this. I feel like you are gaining this new level of power and strength because you now realize what's what. And I feel like you are now essentially finding the power within yourself. I feel like part of that comes from the responsibility of acknowledging these truths, being very honest with yourself. I feel like some of that's coming from that. But I feel as though, I feel like as part of it is also recognizing that you do have control, that you get to decide whether your stories define you or you define them. Right? I feel like a lot of what has unfolded, and I was picking up on this earlier, a lot of what has unfolded has been to show you where you have created your own story, whatever that looks like, right? You are a co-creator of that, and you've contributed to it. And so now I feel like what's unfolding here for you is God is putting you in a position, okay? You may call it source, universe, whatever. I call it God, where God is putting you in a position to say, hey, actually, you have power over this. You get to choose. Right? You have power over your experience. You are a co-creator of your reality, and you can choose to align with things that are not for you. You can choose to adhere to, these stories that really are not truly who you are, or you can choose to do something different. You can choose to write your own story. You can choose change. You can choose peace. You can choose love. You can choose, fill in the blank. So, I feel as though this isn't so much about you being a victim. Okay, though some of you may have experienced that and have, trauma or wounding around that. I don't feel like this is so much of, you being a victim. But I feel like it's more about being subject or having given your power to stories that people have told you about you, or that you have taken on as your own about yourself, and just moving out of repeating these stories in order to move you forward, right? For some of you, there's this realization that, how do I say this? The reason why we experience what we experience is to evolve us, is to grow us. If we don't experience challenge, obstacles, things, however traumatic and painful they may be, if we don't experience these things, if we don't experience the darkness, we can't recognize the light. If we don't experience pain and trauma and wounding, we will not appreciate joy, happiness, and love. So again, I'm not saying these things to invalidate what you've experienced, or to say that it's okay, or that you should be okay with it. I'm just saying this because we can look at things at different perspectives if we decide to do that. We can look at situations, and I've repeated this so many times this month, but we can look at situations not for what they've taken from us, but for what they've given us. And we can choose to move forward with that wisdom. Right? Or we can choose to continue to look at what something is taken from us, or what we feel something is taken from us, and allow that to limit us, allow that to control us. And they do. Those lower egoic drives, my dear, dear friends, whether you believe it, whether you acknowledge it, it doesn't matter. They control things from behind the scenes. They impact every facet of our reality. On very deep levels in some cases. Okay? So I feel like this is where you are gaining your power back from these things. I feel like you're taking back your power from these things and are declaring over your life, like, this is not going to be my story anymore. Right? You have here as well the dilettante with or pardon me, in the shadow or reverse position. Pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. Oi. Okay. So I'm just going to grab a drink. I feel like this energy is coming up, Pisces, because I feel like you have claimed to know yourself at a much deeper level than what you actually have. I'm just going to be real. That's how this is coming through. I don't necessarily feel like this is coming through as you know more about certain things external from yourself than what you claim to. Rather, I mean, because you certainly, are the sign that's generally most intuitive, most sensitive to your surroundings and things like this. So I do feel, you probably do know a lot about a lot, actually. However, I feel like this is speaking to how deeply you've known yourself. And I feel like for some of you, you are now being awoken to this. Like, oh wow, actually, there's a lot that I haven't known about myself and my truth. Like, I actually don't know myself as deeply as I thought I did. And, I feel like that has come from, again, operating from these more lower egoic drives. Okay? Because those lower egoic drives like to have control. They like to feel like they're in control. Okay? And I feel like this is where this is coming from. I'm getting fear as well. And I feel like for those of you that resonate with this, I feel like this really did and has brought up a lot of things for you. I really feel like it stirred a lot of fear within you. And I feel like part of the fear was the fear of you actually not knowing yourself. I really do feel that some of you, kind of made it out to seem as you know yourself more than you do because there's been a deep fear of actually not knowing yourself. And I feel like that probably comes from that deep inner knowing that you don't or haven't. Right? So yeah, I feel like you're moving out of this, right? I feel that you are getting to know yourself at a very deep level. So that moving forward, you can say, actually, I do have this deep knowledge of myself. I do have this deep knowledge of XYZ. And again, I do feel like there are many of you who do have a lot of knowledge and wisdom, through that you've gained through your experiences or curiosities. But there is an aspect of this where certainly, there's that not knowing yourself on a very deep level coming in, but there's also an aspect of, I feel like for some of you, you have learned a lot about a lot, but I do feel like there are some things that you have not, some knowledges that you have not gained at a very deep level, and perhaps this has something to do with spirituality. I don't know why I'm feeling that, but I feel like for some of you that is part of it. I feel like some of you have tried to deny or hide or ignore your more intuitive, mystical, psychic self. And, I feel like part of that has been, this rejection of that. And how do I say this? That not wanting to see that aspect of yourself, I feel like has prevented you from going really, really deep into more spiritual topics. Again, if this resonates with you, which is another thing, which, how do I say, which brings me back up here, right? Because I feel like God has had to unfold these things in a very, very strategic way in order for you to not just brush it, sweep it away. We have here as well the destroyer in the upright or light attribute position, releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for new life. Absolutely. Absolutely. I truly feel that, this new level of inner strength that's being ignited from within you is the ability to release these things that you've been carrying or holding on to for a very long time for some of you. Because again, I feel like you've been living the same stories over and over and over, some of you, for a very long time. You've, taken them on and made them yours, whether it's something you created within yourself or something that someone told you, and you've been buying and selling it as your own for, probably a vast majority of your life, and are now coming to this point where you realize that living that same story is destructive, that it hasn't served you, and you're now being put in this position where these things again have been falling apart, have been like unraveling, right? God's showing you what's not for you and has been preparing you for a new experience where you are living from a completely different perspective. This energy is coming through very akin to the Tower in the tarot, right? Which is essentially, before the Tower is the devil, which we've spoken on already. And oftentimes, God will point out, our higher self, whatever you want to call it, will point out, hey, this is where your ego's running the show, right? This is where you're not operating from love and truth, where you're operating from these lower egoic drives, where these things have a hold on you. So God will try to show you these things, right? Often. And if you fail to acknowledge them, or you decide to ignore them, or whatever the story is, God will create what's called a tower moment, or several of them, in order to really kind of shake you awake, to show you where where outdated beliefs need to be challenged, and where there need to be foundational shifts, in order to, it's that whole kind of concept of like break you down to build you back up again. And it's because those foundations that you've built your life upon are really unsteady, right? It's not sustainable. It's not good for you. And so God will bring it all crashing to the ground to say, hey, we've got to do something different here. We have here as well the orphan child in the reverse or shadow attribute position. Feelings of abandonment that stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate surrogate families. Yeah, definitely picking up on some of that for sure. For sure. Because again, there's this whole kind of, there's all this energy of like what's not for you, right? And there is a lot of that which was coming through, which was bringing forth this whole kind of, certain environments, situations, people, like things that really are not good for you. And there was this, there's this energy coming through as well as, being kind of dealing with some of these things for a very long time. And I do feel like it has, in some cases, for some of you, has really prevented you from really truly evolving, right? It really has kind of put you in this box, or you put yourself in this box where, it's like, this is just who I am. I can't change, and so I also feel like there's, for whatever reason, there's feelings of unworthiness here, and I don't know where this is coming from. Perhaps it is coming from, wounding and trauma that you've experienced throughout your life, perhaps as a child. But I feel like there's these feelings of unworthiness, which is where these feelings of abandonment, I feel like, are sitting, if this resonates for you. And I feel like God has orchestrated all of these things to, I say this with so much love, Pisces, and my heart really does go out to you, but where you've abandoned yourself. Where you've abandoned yourself by treating yourself as though there's, like, this is all there is. Where you've abandoned yourself by denying what you truly have felt in your heart, deep down within your being. Some of you, like I said, have tried to kind of mask that or escape from it to, just brush it off or push it away. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of this is unfolded so that you, again, kind of learn how to love yourself and realize your value, and don't abandon yourself, right? And don't betray yourself or subject yourself to suffering by aligning with things that just really, really, truly are not for you. Right? I feel like some of you, so this says here, right? We have this orphan energy. And I feel like there are some of you who, may have felt abandoned, or, maybe were actually, orphans, or, found yourself in maybe the foster care system or something of that nature, where you have felt abandoned. And this kind of monster, if you will, where you've taken on these feelings of unworthiness, or perhaps even being unlovable, it's kind of like this monster has grown from it. And it's just kind of, I feel for some of you, it has taken over your life, or did at one point. And I feel like, again, God is trying to really show you how powerful you truly are, show you how valuable you truly are, right? Because God is always coming after you, is what it feels like to me. And I feel like God is, essentially asking you to choose yourself, to not abandon yourself, to choose a love of yourself, to choose a love, period. But to choose love of yourself, to follow your heart, and to not abandon yourself. Oh yes, we have here for you, Pisces, the Liberator in the upright or light attribute position, freeing yourself from freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, releasing negative thought patterns. Yes, this is exactly what I'm picking up on. Right? Really showing you how much power you truly do have. Again, preparing you for a new life. One where you do not feel restricted, confined, contained by stories, by your experiences, by trauma, by programming and wounding, right? I feel like this is really trying to ignite fire within you for you, right? Not fire within you for anybody else, Pisces, but for you, right? Like really igniting this fire and for it to burn for you, right? Like I said, I feel like this is about you no longer abandoning yourself, your truth, your, who you really, really are at a very deep level, and igniting your flame within you for you, so that you're moving from the things that light you up. You're moving from who you really, truly are, right? I also feel like there's this kind of phoenixy energy, right? Being reborn from the ashes. And I feel as though you're being set up for a new life, to experience life from a very different level, a very, very different place, a very beautiful place. Should you choose, right? One where you feel more free to be who you are, where you don't feel, because the way it's kind of being shown to me is very, very much like, again, the devil in your typical tarot, which is where, the devil's on this throne, and he's, kind of dominating over his subjects who are chained to him. And I feel like there's part of you that's tried to get away from it, but always feels like it yanks you back. Right? And I feel like this is for you. All of these things that are unfolding is to ignite that strength within you to finally just break free, cut the chain, and to move on, and to really truly experience life in a very different way, a very full way. And I don't mean on an external level at all. I mean inside. To feel very full and whole and complete inside. Now, this is going to take time. I am not at all saying that this is going to just happen, in a day. It's going to take time, or it has taken time. But I do feel like you're being positioned to really experience life from that way, where you feel full inside, where your heart is your heart is just overflowing. It feels like it's on fire. And for some of you, this is stemming for a deeper understanding of your relationship to God within you. Because again, there was that energy of, God seems to be always chasing you, always reaching for you. So let's take a look at what's gaining momentum for you. Yeah, we have the ever unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. Yep. I feel like God is chipping away. Okay, because our truth, our true selves, our soul's true essence is usually hidden underneath all of our trauma, all of our wounding, all of our programming, all of our pain, all of these stories that we've told ourselves. And I really do feel that God is just chipping away at them and really, really working at cracking you wide open and letting your true self out. So, you may have been someone who is experiencing these things over the past 2 or 3 years, or perhaps longer, where you felt like, why is this always happening to me? I feel like I'm being punished, right? Very kind of victim energy, very kind of self-pitying, where what is gaining momentum for you is this deep understanding, which I feel did not have before, of, oh, these things are happening for me. Like God is doing this for me to save me from myself, essentially. Right? Because here, the destroyer in the shadow, it says intoxication with destructive power, destroying others' dreams or potential. And I feel like, some of the things that, remember how I said it feels like you've abandoned yourself? For some of you, I feel like you've abandoned yourself by engaging in destructive behavior, right? Just doing it a lot, whatever that looks like. And I feel, again, like all of this is to crack you open, to save you from that. But the thing of it is like, God can only do so much. You have to choose to save yourself, which why for some of you, I feel like this has been taking a really long time, because I feel like you've been very resistant, but are now in a place where, if this resonates with you, that's gaining momentum, because God has just been chipping away, very dedicated to you, right? As it is to all of us. But I feel like you now may be coming to this understanding, like, oh, God was doing these things for me. God has been trying to show me X, Y, Z this whole time. Right? Really being able to put the pieces together. And as I stated earlier, I feel like the way that God has orchestrated this has been very strategic, so that you haven't just brushed it off, but it's really had to sink in. You've really had to get very honest with yourself, and really had to kind of open up to God, so that God could show you, hey, this is not a form of punishment. Like, I'm trying to help you save yourself. Again, take that how it resonates with you, okay? Do not make this your story if it isn't. You do not want to create more healing for yourself than what you already have. And that goes for anyone, okay? So I feel like this is gaining momentum for you, and it's beautiful, because I feel like it's just opening you up. and allowing us to see our beautiful selves. And I have had several Pisces in my life who truly, like, I'm like, can you please just see how glorious you are? Because I feel like you guys struggle with this. I do. But I feel like, again, if you're resonating with this, I feel like you're starting to come to terms with that. Right? I feel like you're really starting to. And I've had a lot of Pisces in my life, let me tell you. Okay, so let's take a look at the advice or messages that will best support and serve you and your journey moving forward. We have here, count your blessings. Thank you, universe and angels, for the blessings in my life. You know, I feel like this is coming through, not because I feel like you're not grateful, but I feel like it's coming through to try to help you to, or rather encourage you to seek these things out often, daily, moment by moment, right? Like, oh, I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for food. I'm grateful for being awake. I'm grateful for, that smile from that nice person at the gas station. I'm grateful for, getting to work on time. I'm grateful for that flower right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's really trying to cultivate within you the beauty that how beautiful life really is. And that there's so many things to be grateful for. Right? Not just when things are going good, not just when we feel good, but just every single moment of every single day. I also feel like this is asking you to see the experiences that you've had. And I want to be very delicate about this because I know that, some of us have experienced really, really traumatic, horrific things. So I'm trying to be very delicate. Please do not take what I'm about to say as being insensitive. But I feel as though, this is also bringing forward this awareness of things that have happened to you are, again, meant to evolve you. And I want to be very delicate. And a lot of times, those really traumatic, painful things that we've experienced, even horrific things that we've experienced, often play a part in our assignment, our position, our purpose, or we can use them to ultimately be of service to humanity, right? Where we now have this level of compassion and understanding about certain situations, so that when we experience them in others, or others come to us with similar experiences, we can be compassionate toward them. We can show them kindness and warmth. We can provide for them a safe place to express themselves, to share, to be vulnerable. Okay, so I'm not saying, I'm not trying to invalidate anything you've experienced. I'm not trying to condone it. I'm not trying to say that it's okay or that you have to be okay with it. I'm just saying that there's an opportunity to look at it from a different perspective. Take that how it resonates with you. Again, for any of the horrific or terrible, painful things you've experienced, I'm truly very sorry, Pisces. We have here as well, take time to breathe. Thank you, angels. I breathe with ease knowing you're here. I do feel like for some of you, there is this energy of becoming more aware, as I was speaking on earlier, of God moving in your life and the ability to surrender, to let God work in your life, right? That you can just kind of breathe because God is moving in your life. God is moving in your experiences. I mean, that is a huge act of faith, certainly. But I feel like for some of you, there is this, message like, hey, you can just kind of relax a little bit, knowing that God is working behind the scenes, that God is doing things for you, right? God is orchestrating things for you to try to align you with your most favorite, your best self, your, what we would call our highest timeline for our lives. I feel like for some of you, you may be finding yourself at the precipice or finding yourself in this place where you are breathing for the first time. Like, really, I feel like some of you have been holding your breath, or you felt as though you've been holding your breath your whole life. And I feel like a big part of that may be for some of you because you've been in survival mode your whole life. And I feel like, God is trying to help you out of that and, help you to emerge from that place and just give you the opportunity to experience like a moment of peace and a moment of just being versus surviving, right? Taking up space, just being. We also have here for you Archangel Azrael, change and transition. Thank you, Azrael, for leading me safely through this change. Yeah, do know you're not going through this alone. Azrael is the angel of death and rebirth, and I do feel like this is what is happening. We have that destroyer energy preparing for a new life. And I do feel like, if you're resonating with this, this is certainly, what's being orchestrated for you, right? I feel like this could be confirmation for you. Know that you are not alone. You never have been alone, ever. Even if you've felt that, even if you've believed that to be true, you have never, ever, ever been alone. We all have a guardian angel with us at all times, and God, Christ, will certainly never turn their back on you ever. No matter how far you stray, no matter how many times you turn your back to those energies, they will never, ever, ever abandon you, ever. Which is very interesting for me to say, just because it's bringing me back to that whole kind of God has been chasing you, has always been going after you. I'm actually being reminded of a song. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Reckless Love. It's called Reckless Love. I can't think of the artist right now. I will link it in the description box if you want to check it out. So I'm being reminded of that song, and then another song called, I think it's called Rescue. I can't think of the artist right now either. One is a male, one is a female. I will link both of those below in the description, but I'm being reminded of these songs because I feel as though, God has been trying to tell you that, like, God loves you. And I'm not coming at this from, how do I say? Let me back up. I'm coming at this from a very esoteric Christianity place. I'm not somebody who's religious. I'm not knocking or judging or criticizing anybody who is. That's just not my like, that's not something I align with. So, I don't want anyone over here like cringy because I'm using certain terms, but God will not abandon you, and God does love you very, very deeply, so much so that it will put you in a position to experience things that pain you in order to evolve you, in order to grow you. Because the only way that you can essentially find your way back, how do I say this? You may have read in the Bible, and I'm no Bible scholar by any means whatsoever, but Christ speaks in the Bible about how the only way to God, to the Father, is through Christ. The way that we align with Christ, or the Christ impulse, is through purifying our heart, is through, really evolving, growing, releasing, and healing our lower egoic drives. And so this brings me back to what I was saying earlier, is that God loves us so much that God will put us in positions that are painful, that are challenging, that are you know, all sorts of different things in order to evolve us and grow us so that we can, you know, essentially find ourselves in the kingdom of heaven. And I don't believe that's a place, by the way, you know, somewhere in the clouds. Kingdom of heaven is within you. It's God within you. So we can find our way back to it within ourselves, at least for the time being. Okay. So these are things that I've gained through what I'm been learning. Again, about, you know, esoteric Christianity and things like anthroposophy, Rudolf Steiner's work. So if you want to explore those options, certainly, you know, there's knowledge to be gained there, spiritual knowledge. It's often referred to as spiritual science. So that may be something you want to look into, because I feel like for some of you, there's this very like, I don't want to be all up in the woo-woo stuff, you know? So that may be something for you. But coming back to Archangel Azrael here, I feel like the message for you is that you are not alone. And there is this energy of death and rebirth for you. And I feel as though, you know, you're being guided through these transitions. Should you choose to welcome that guidance, that support, it is there for you. Again, all you have to do is ask. You also have your live your joy. Thank you, angels, for supporting me as I follow my joy. Yeah, again, a big part of this energy that's been coming through for you is for you to be living from your heart, your deepest and most true self, your soul, right? Not from your trauma, not from your pain, not from your wounding. And this is not an external fleeting joy, Pisces. This is true joy that wells up from within you and flows outward, not something that is out here and flows into you. Okay? So I feel like, you know, this change that's taking place for you, if you resonate with this and if you allow it, is meant to be aligning you with your true joy so that you're living that in every moment, not just when you're doing things that you enjoy. I mean, certainly that's a big part of it. Okay, it's important to do things that we find to be joyous or enjoyable, but you know, it's about being able to create joy from within yourself, to live joy, to, you know, have for that to be something that again kind of flows from within you outwardly. And in order to do that, right, we really have to get to know ourselves and find peace within ourselves and learn how to love ourselves. And then in any moment, anywhere, we can create joy, because we're not waiting for something to do it for us. We're not waiting for something to stimulate that from within us. We just are able to be it. I hope that makes sense. We have here for you as well, trust your vibes. Thank you, angels. Today I choose to trust my intuition and your guidance. How about that? Yeah, you know, I feel as though, like I said, there's an energy of abandoning yourself, Pisces. And I feel like part of what's taking place for you, and I don't necessarily know if this is something that you will experience a lot of in January, though that could be true. Of course, this, as I said earlier, this is a collective reading, so anything is possible. But I feel like a lot of what is or rather is unfolding for you is to position you in such a way that you are able to trust yourself. Because again, I do feel like there are those of you out there who have abandoned yourself. And so what happens when we have these deep desires, or we have things that we want, that we align with, that means something to us, and we choose something else, okay? Or if we don't have, or if we struggle with boundaries, for example, you know, where we are like people pleasing or dependent on other people or whatever it is, we often dishonor our own desires, our own wants, our own needs, and thereby we tell ourselves that we can't trust ourselves. Right? And so I feel like a lot of what is unfolding for you is to ultimately help you to build that trust within yourself, right? But like to ask you to honor yourself in order to build that trust within you so that you can trust you, right? So I do feel like you're probably getting these nudges, Pisces, from your intuition to do certain things, to make certain moves, to, you know, go certain places, or what have you. You're probably getting these nudges, and I feel like some of you are pretty resistant to some of them. I'm just going to be honest, because I think there's a fear. Yep, there's fear. Pardon me. There's fear coming up. There's fear within you, I feel, of finding yourself in situations where, how do I say this? There's almost this energy of like, what if what I want doesn't want me? So that can be anything, really. It can be really, really anything. You know, it's a very kind of external thing, I feel, but there's kind of this energy of, you know, unworthiness, or you know, not being enough, or something of that nature, of, you know, what if what I want does not want me? And I feel like, again, this thing may be, or these things may be showing up repeatedly, because I feel like your intuition's like, hey, 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 and it's there for a reason. And I feel like it's trying to get you to trust yourself, to show you that you can trust yourself. But it's going to ask you to face some of these fears. It's going to ask you to really step outside of your comfort zone and to trust yourself first, which is super scary. Super, super scary. But again, that's why I feel like some of you, I don't feel like this is going to be something like full force in the month of January, but I do feel like it's starting to really kind of nudge you, right? Finally, we have here for you Spirit Animal. Thank you, Animal Kingdom, for blessing my path with love. I don't feel like this is for everyone. I mean, certainly, again, it's collective, so it probably won't be anyways. But I feel like there are some of you who are seeing certain animals, or certain animals have been drawn to you, or you're seeing them in your reality, right? Your physical world. You're seeing them perhaps on socials or in movies, or maybe just hearing the word or something. They keep appearing to you, perhaps in your dreams or daydreams even. And I feel like they hold messages for you. Okay, I feel like they have something to share with you. This came up for another sign as well, and I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing that I encouraged them to do if you feel called to do that. You know, you may want to research what these animals, how do I say, the symbolism of these animals, right? Especially in Native American cultures. I don't know why it's coming through like that, you guys. Usually I don't really have that kind of, I don't know, box, if you will. But it is really coming through very strongly, because I've used this card so many times, or rather, I've had this card show up in my membership group and all sorts of things, and those like stipulations, if you will, or, you know, looking at it from a very specific place has not really come through. So I think it's really fascinating that it is currently, but I feel like there's some deep wisdom there for some if you choose to explore what these animals meant to those more indigenous cultures. Yeah, I just feel like there's some messages there for you. Again, Take that if it resonates. You know, certainly if you've been seeing it in your dreams and your reality and it's repeated and you're like, oh my gosh, this owl will not leave me alone, or, you know, whatever it is. Now, obviously, if you like work at a zoo, that might be a little different. Right? Or if you like own a dog or something, that may be a little bit different, though they could have messages for you too. Um, you know, I feel like this is more likely something for those who are seeing things that they wouldn't typically see in their everyday reality. Okay? So again, it's like, oh my gosh, I keep seeing elephants and you live in Alaska. Like clearly, you know what I mean? Not saying that's your story, but I'm just trying to point it out. So, yeah, I do feel like there are some animals out there that may have some messages for some of you, certainly. And there are those who believe that we not only have guardian angels, but we also have spirit guides that are in animal form. So, you know, that may be something you want to look into as well. So I know that there have been some parts of this reading, Pisces, that have been a bit heavy, a bit intense, right? That have addressed some things that are often very uncomfortable for many people to talk about or to open up about. And, you know, I really want to thank you so very much for connecting with me, for allowing me the opportunity to speak to your soul today. I'm so very grateful for you. Please do know that anything you've experienced, no matter what it is, you are so very loved. Okay? And if for some reason hearing that God loves you doesn't cut it, I love you. I know you don't know me. I know that I'm just a girl on YouTube, but I love you. I'm so grateful that you're here on this planet at this time, sharing your beautiful, lovely, wonderful self with the world. I pray that something here has resonated for you, that you've found some value here somewhere, and that it helps you to navigate your journey moving forward. If something here has resonated with you, please remember to like this video, to subscribe, to comment below if you feel comfortable, or to share this with others that may find value in it as well. I truly appreciate that so very much. Have a beautiful rest of your month wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Again, thank you so much for being here. Take care of your valuable, worthy, loved, loving, lovable, glorious, magnificent soul. Peace be with you and within you. And I hope to see you in another video. Bye.